Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and today we're going to play with the mini lantern die set and some hot foil plates. Here is the mini lantern die set, and you can see I've used the outer piece to create a glitter foam out background, and I've got some pool colored cardstock and some Moondust foil, and we're going to use the Sakura Blooms foil and cut set. I'm just going to use the foiling plates. They're two beautiful groupings of blooms, kind of cherry blossom, very Japanese or Chinese? I think it's Japanese inspired blooms. And I'm going to lay those down on my hot foil platform, put the Moondust foil shiny side down, put my cardstock over the top, and the placement does not have to be perfect on these, and run it through the die cut machine after the plate has gotten warm and the timer has turned off. Now I do this repeatedly to cover our piece of cardstock here that was cut with the solid panel with the two notched ends. And I'm going to take a piece of 6x5 cardstock and do the same thing so that I can use this for the barrel of the lantern or the inside piece, and for the tassel off the bottom, and for the detail pieces at the top and bottom of the lantern. Here I'm going to cut out the tassel and the two pieces that will be the details, and you can see the beautiful foiling will show up on these pieces and add a wonderful detail. Next, we're going to use some liquid glue here, and you could use the Crafty Gluefriend, and that would work just as well. Now we're going to line this up with the bottom, with one of the long edges of this internal barrel piece. And I chose to pull out some bulldog clips. I have a whole bin of them, and they will help hold the glitter foam to the paper perfectly. Now, I have been experimenting with different materials to make these lanterns, and this piece that needs to have some serious bending works best with a lightweight cardstock, or this glitter foam is fantastic. It has a beautiful bend and body to it when you curve these pieces the way they need to be. So after we have adhered the one long edge, we will adhere the other long edge, and again using my bulldog clips just to keep this in place long enough for that glue to set up and be nice and solidly adhered. I do use 4 or 5 bulldog clips on each side. You could use mini clothespins or your whatever you have in your stash that will help you keep your edges together. Now for the tassel, you can see that both edges are connected. If you trim off the bottom edge, you can make that tassel adjustable to whatever size you want it. And I would recommend trimming that before you start rolling it. Next, I have a piece of crochet thread. Now this is not the way this was designed to be put together, but this is how I like to put it together. There are benefits to both ways that you do this. I take this piece of crochet thread, make a long loop, use a piece of tape, double-sided tape, to adhere that to the top of what will be our tassel. And now I'm using my reverse tweezers to roll this into a tassel shape. Now I have decided to leave the bottom connected because I like the way this tassel mirrors the shape of the main body of the lantern, with that little bit of bulging in the middle. I think it's just perfect. I am using my reverse tweezers to apply some pressure at the top and kind of act as a handle, and then I push up on the bottom of the tassel to get that little bit of bowing on the middle of the tassel. Next, we're going to push our pokey tool through the holes in the fun foam or glitter foam layer through the barrel piece or the cardstock piece in the back. That's how we're going to attach our strings to hang the lantern and to let the tassel dangle. Next, we'll use some glue to adhere this barrel together. Just going to line up our top and bottom edges, and then I'm going to use those handy little bulldog clips again to give that some time to set up, and so I can get my fingers in the middle and apply some pressure to that part of the edge too. This just takes a few seconds to set up. If you wanted, you could use some double-sided adhesive tape. I find that that is not as long-acting as you might like. By adding that twine in the middle while you're rolling it up, it gives you these tails to work with for later on. Next, we're going to use this detailed die to die cut out a piece of that glitter foam to add onto the top of our tassel. I thought that would look really fun and keep that a cohesive look to the entire lantern. Again, going to use some liquid adhesive, wrap that around, and use the reverse tweezers to hold that in place long enough for it to dry. I will admit that after I had let that dry and went to assemble things, I ended up using a glue dot on the end of that to make sure that it stayed where it needed to. Here are some cute little blooms that I think match with the Sakura blooms foil plates in this theme, and we're going to add those to our lantern also. Here I'm adding that glue dot to the, oh, maybe it was some double-sided tape, but I'm adding that to the end of that piece of glitter foam so that it adheres nicely on the top of that tassel, but just on that last piece where it's glitter foam over glitter foam. It adheres better with liquid glue when it's glitter foam to glue. Next, I have this embroidery needle. It's a blunt tip one, and I'm using that to thread the ends of this tassel piece through the holes that are pierced in the top of the lantern. This is actually pretty easy. I think the hardest thing for me is threading the needle now that my near vision is starting to be affected by my age. I pull those ends up to about where I want them to be, and then mark with my fingers where I want the knot to be, loop the thread, tie the knot, and then I'm going to trim off the extra after I make sure that this is where I want it. I like where that's dangling out of the bottom of our lantern. I will tuck that down. I'm trying to decide what I'm for sure going to do with that string. I do decide to trim it off close to the knot. Next, we're going to take another long piece of thread. Oh, I'm just looking to make sure that that's what I really want to do. It does cover up the thread where it comes out of the holes, so that gives a more finished look. Again, I'm going to take another long piece of this crochet thread. You could use baker's twine or whatever you have in your stash, and thread that through the other two holes and trim off the extra. I'm going to tie a knot close to the top of the lantern. I like how that makes it spin nicely. And then another knot at the top for hanging it. Now, to cover that knot and make it a little more pretty, we're going to use some glue dots again to glue these cute little glittered floral pieces, one on each side of the knot. So I've adhered one glue dot to a flower. I'll stick the next glue dot on the back, so it's sandwiching the thread between the two flowers, and there we have that piece. I think that is so cute. I do have one more of those flowers left, so I'm going to add a glue dot to that and add it to the middle of our tassel. I think that's adorable. I just want to see how that's going to look sideways. Adding that glue dot, adding it to our tassel. And look at that. We have a completed lantern. I really, really think you should try it with the glitter foam. It's so perfect. That's my entire, oh, no, that's not my entire construction. Now we're going to add the detail pieces at the top. Now, since this is over glitter foam, I'm going to use some double-sided tape. I'll adhere that to the back of this strip, peel off the backing, and wrap it around the top of the lantern. Now, if you find your strip, the die cut strip, is not quite long enough, and I did find that because I'm using a thick material here. I'm using glitter foam, so it makes the diameter of this lantern a little bigger. I cut a strip that was 3/8 of an inch wide and at least 6.5 inches long. I'm going to repeat that on the bottom of our lantern, and it's really quite easy. The double-sided tape makes this come together quite easily without a mess and is stuck pretty much right away. I think I did go back and end up adding another glue dot or a little liquid glue under one of the ends that didn't want to stick perfectly. And there now is our completed project. I could see this being adorable with a little bead hanging off the bottom. I just couldn't find any in my stash. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like this channel, subscribe to this channel, check the description box for all of the supplies that I used today, and here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.